Welcome to Living 4D with Paul Chek. Today, Paul welcomes back Mike Salemi. Mike specializes in human performance and is a sought-after presenter in the field of health and fitness. He has a diverse background in strength and conditioning spanning over 15 years and has competed at an elite level in powerlifting and kettlebell sport, including becoming the 2017 WAKSC World Champion in the professional long cycle division. Through his own path of resolving sports-related injuries, Mike understands the importance of integrating the body, mind, and spirit as a means to foster high performance for the long term. He has served as a Division I strength and conditioning coach for the Santa Clara University and has just released his latest online program, Kettlebell Lifestyle. Keep listening till the end of the podcast for a special offer on Mike's new course.
Hi, everybody. This is my second podcast with the now world-famous kettlebell athlete, two-time world champion, Chek professional, master of holistic functional exercise coach, and one of my best buddies, Mike Salemi. Several years ago now, Mike came to me injured and unable to resolve orthopedic and neurological challenges that were stopping him from training and effectively competing. That began a 2.5-year deep journey into holistic rehabilitation and conditioning. Mike is one of the elite athletes I've shared as much of my knowledge with as I possibly could and who simultaneously became a Chek-trained professional. Mike has now developed two of the most impressive online training systems I've ever seen. The first one, which was the topic of discussion of our first podcast together, was Mike's Mastering the Kettlebell program. Today, Mike and I dive deep into the heart and soul of his new, amazing Kettlebell Lifestyle program. Mike's Kettlebell Lifestyle program is designed to be ideal for everyone from beginners of all sizes and ages and fitness levels all the way to those that want a badass kettlebell training program with a load of deep holistic wisdom attached to it. I love it. Mike has guest experts covering everything from inner work, such as working in, which would be me, diet, hydration, goal setting, moving beyond self-sabotage, meditation, to enhancing spinal mechanics. In this beautiful dialogue about how Mike and I both practice and teach exercise holistically, we get into a lot of discussion regarding the foundations of healthy exercise practice, how we can use our bodies as reliable feedback instruments to guide us, not just physically, but emotionally, mentally, and spiritually as well. We take deep into consideration the issues of social isolation and social distancing that COVID has enforced upon us and share wisdom that anyone can use to make the very best of this situation. Regardless whether you're interested in kettlebell training or looking into the world's most impressive kettlebell lifestyle program that I've ever seen, what Mike and I dialogue on is essential and even of critical importance to the public, to the individual, and anyone that wants optimal health, resiliency, and an optimal mindset in today's often strange and changing environment. When change is upon us, it's generally very stressful for people. These are times when addictions are created, social tensions run high, relationships often start breaking down, people feel deflated and let their bodies go, and there's so much we can do to alter our experience in positive ways. Anyone listening to this podcast with Mike Salemi and I is sure to leave with loads of highly applicable, practical advice that can change their life for the better. I hope you enjoy being with Mike and I as much as I enjoyed and always enjoy being with Mike Salemi. He's truly one of the most amazing, loving, beautiful men I know, and certainly among the very best athletes and students I've ever worked with in my career. Enjoy Mike Salemi. Hi, everybody. Just a quick note before we start today. Thank you to everyone that has filled out my podcast survey. Your input is invaluable. If you haven't completed or missed the word about it, I've put together a short survey to help me improve the podcast, and I'd really be grateful for your input. Please fill it out by going to chekinstitute.com/survey. Beyond helping me with the podcast, when you complete the survey, you'll also be entered to win a bundle of all kinds of cool gifts from our sponsors. But you have to complete the survey before January 10th when the survey closes, so please don't miss out. My dream is to make the podcast something exciting and special for each of you each week. So I look forward to hearing from each and every one of you, and thank you in advance for your participation. And finally, thank you for your willingness to learn, grow, and love more with me each day. Aho, great spirit. Hello, everybody. Welcome to Living 4D with Paul Chek. It's exciting today. We've just finished Zen in the Garden, our first big event here at the Rainbow House. We've been in here now about 6 months, and it's been a lot of work to get it all ready and cleaned up and fixed up, and we're still hard at it. But we had a great time, and today I have Mike Salemi back. Mike, welcome back. Round 2 on Living 4D.
Heck yeah. Heck yeah.
You got your new program out, so we're going to talk about that today and some of the things you've been up to. How'd you enjoy Zen in the Garden?
That was incredible. Incredible. Especially this was my first time at the Rainbow House. You know, before, I mean, the last place, the Heaven House, was absolutely gorgeous with the stones, but this, like, blew it out of the water, and it was
hard to imagine you can get better than the Heaven House, huh?
I can't believe what's been created here. And like I shared with you yesterday, I'm deeply, deeply happy, you know, to see you in the space and everything you've worked for. And just brings me a lot of joy to see and to be able to be a part of as well.
14 acres is a nice little roaming ground for the kids. And you haven't had a chance to see the property. I wish I had more time to take you around, but we've got several areas with like 30, 40 foot rock climbing walls, just natural walls of rock that me and Mona go climb. And even Zoe, I strap her on, and it gets a bit scary out there. I have to go slow because Mona's a wild man. But yeah, it was really fun. It was great to have all these amazing people, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm. We had, over 40 people of just all like-minded, like-hearted, light-spirited people. The community, the collaboration, the connection. That's honestly, I think, one of the biggest takeaways is just specifically in these times, just really how important it is to connect with each other.
Yeah. It was neat that Eddie Madden brought his dad and his, I think it's his cousin or one of his family members, and his dad was, I think, 76 and just loves rocks, and he was out there having fun.
Were they from New York or something? Like, he had Boston. A thick accent.
Boston.
Yeah, that was great.
Yeah. So, and we had one of the girls lost her babysitter help at the last second, so she brought her little, I think, 5-year-old son, and him and Mona just had a ball out there. They were having a great time all day. So before I forget, our next Zen in the Garden, if you're interested, it sells out almost immediately, just so you know. So if you hear this and you want to go, get your name on the Chek Institute's website or check our Instagram and Facebook pages for the Chek Institute. But the next one's on January the 30th, and the theme is the 5 symbol archetypes. So we take you through a system of archetypal assessment, and you have these archetype diagrams, such as the triangle and the square and the cross and the spiral. There's a few of them. And each of those has deep connections to different aspects of your lives. And then what we do is, once we choose the symbol archetypes in the order that we're called to choose them from our inner self, then I take people out into nature. Well, first we do an interpretation. Well, no, we go out into nature. And then using anything on the land, from the stones to the trees to the plants to anything you can use without destroying the property, but you recreate your own set of symbols. So you have them in the order that they call to you, and you can choose the one that calls you the most, or you can mix all 5 of them. And I've got some beautiful pictures from the people that were at the last 5 symbol archetype Zen in the Garden, and they all just found it mind-blowing. And then the next one we'll be doing after that, which will be in March, will be a 2-day workshop on mandala based on the question, who am I? The primordial question, who am I really? So almost everybody that was at the one that we just finished told me they would be at the next, both of them. So if you want to register, there's already about 45 people ahead of you. So get on it. But yeah, we had a great time. What'd you think of that water charger, buddy?
Oh my gosh, today was the first day that I actually got to go inside it. And we got to harmonize a little bit. Yeah. I mean, it was, I can tell, again, I had no idea over the last few months when we were catching up on the phone from time to time. And you said, you're still working on your water charger, still working on your water charger. I'm like, damn, what is he doing?
Because I thought 3.5 months of hard work.
It's insane. And you're doing like sound healings or something in there as well.
Chant and tone in it. Functions just like a cave, as you saw.
Oh, it's so nice and big and beautiful. And like, I can't even imagine. You were saying you were mixing the concrete by hand?
Yes, all concrete. And, you know, all my big stones, there's about 500 stones.
Jesus.
I had to spend about $10,000 on stones to complete it and concrete. But yeah, for the last 3.5 months, I've hardly been in the gym at all because I didn't have enough time. So it was water charger or gym. And I said, well, you know what? I've been lifting weights since I was 12 without a break. So maybe I'll just go be a stonemason for 3.5 months. And it was hard work, man. There would be days I could pretty much only handle about 3 hours, but mixing cement by hand, I'd put 2 bags of cement in the wheelbarrow and add the water, and you got to mix it like you're mixing a giant pot of oatmeal. And I'll tell you what, man, that can wear your ass out.
Well, you remember my dad was basically, he laid marble and granite for 18 years before he started, before his body was so broken down.
Yes.
He's had knee replacements, shoulder surgeries, all that stuff. I mean,
hardcore.
It is growing up, seeing him on his hands and knees working with that stuff. I mean, it was bags of thin set and carrying it upstairs and all the stone. It is a workout and a half.
Yes. And those big stones, like the bottom 4 rows on the charger, there's 38 stones in each ring. So those bottom stones are all, some of them are, approaching 300 pounds. So I had to muscle those things up there, and Freddie would be the mud man. So I would have to pick those stones up and hold them up in the air so he could put the cement down. Then I had to position them, and stacking them is one thing and flipping them and moving them around. But when you got to hold a stone, well, someone puts cement and then position it just right, because the cement acts kind of like a lubricant. So unlike stacking them on stone, when you put the cement down, all of a sudden it starts to float. And you're like, oh my God, no, I got to hold this thing in just the right place and let it settle into that other stone. And so it adds less. Each stone is like a total workout. There was a few times like I'd be bent over and I could barely stand up because my muscles were so exhausted. So by the time Zen in the Garden came, I was fried because I'd been working on that thing every spare minute I could, because I really wanted everyone to have the experience of the power of a water charger like that. And so that one will hold comfortably 60 bottles of water. My previous ones would only hold 4 bottles of water. So it's about the size of a boxing ring, small boxing ring inside, about 16 feet across. So, the title of our show today is Mind, Body, Fitness Essentials, because we're really in this unique kind of COVID environment where social distancing and mask wearing and all this other craziness is going on. And we've had a huge escalation in suicide rates and domestic violence from people being trapped inside and not being able to connect to family and breathe and move and live. So I really thought that it was amazing that the launch of your new Kettlebell Lifestyle program, which has been out for a bit now. How long has it been out?
So it actually just officially launched a few weeks ago, but I've been working on it for almost 11 months. So I started working on it like 5 months before COVID. And then the timing has been perfect because it basically so probably about 2-ish months ago, one came out. Yeah.
Couldn't be better timing. So we're going to talk today about Mike's new program, but we're going to talk about it not just from a conditioning program of, getting fit, making your body look good, but we're going to talk about it from the perspective of how valuable a program like this, especially the way it's designed as an online program, because you can literally have Mike right there with you in your gym, your living room, and it's world class. I mean, the amount of money you've spent and time you spent to make that thing. I have a lot of experience because, Gary Crozier built PT Enhance. And so, he's spent somewhere around $4 million now just on the software, because it's, as you know, it's a big program with, I think we have 2,400 exercises in there and all the assessment forms all the way through HLC 1 right up to Chek level 4. So it's a full comprehensive professional program for health and exercise professionals to manage their entire business and create programs for their clients. You're familiar with it? Yeah,
I've used it before, and I totally believe that, because now going through this one and having to create an entirely custom platform from scratch.
Yes, that's why I said to you, how much money did that cost you? Because I know about how much these things cost, and they're not cheap when you do them first time. When Gary and I started down this road together, it was his idea, and of course he did the work. I provided the intellectual property and the kind of the mind behind what's in it, but he developed the software. It was a big journey, It was like a lot of work because there was no program in the world at that time that did anything like that at all. I think he started that in 2008.
Wow.
So there was nothing online. This was really like the first invention of that kind of concept. And now, of course, there's lots of them, but Gary still builds his original software because of the network interfacing. But point being, when I saw yours and saw how clean and beautiful and simple it was, my first thought was, that wasn't cheap. That's a lot of work, buddy. I can tell you right now, you spent a lot of time working with programmers and spending a lot of time figuring out how to make this work for a wide variety of people of different fitness levels and abilities, and pretty damn impressive how you have basically, Mike's got as much of the specificity in there really like we do on PT Enhance, except, ours is really for the professional, but yours is for anybody. But it's probably one of the most incredible programs I've ever seen because it's safe for anybody. I mean, all they got daily readiness assessments, flexibility assessments. What other types of assessments are there?
Kettlebell selection, because the whole program is designed to be done with just one single kettlebell. Onboarding questionnaires where it looks at the foundation principles of how to be healthy, not just for right now, but for the long term of however you want to do your sport, your activity, and just live a healthy life. It's truly the most personalized program I've ever done. It's the closest thing anyone could ever get to working with me personally.
I think it's probably one of the most unique programs ever. I've never seen anything even come close to that.
Thank you.
You can't build something like that even if you have the technology, because you have to have the experience as a therapist, as a coach, as an athlete to do that, right? So it is really like dependent upon your own life experience, because really it's an expression of your own mind.
It's a direct expression of my life experience as an athlete and as a coach. And then, to be honest, and you know this very well, but your teachings, your mentorship, your coaching has had the biggest influence on me as an athlete and as a coach in my life. And that's directly reflected into that program. From those training readiness assessments, what we were doing together was the daily readiness, which was, I would say, way more expansive than what's in the program. I've simplified it quite a bit, so someone can do it in less than 30 seconds.
Wow.
But their program, their workouts, took me 3+ months to design the workouts, to test them, to design them, and then to truly create based off of where you are on a given day, from sleep, from performing a body scan, looking at muscle and joint soreness and recovery, looking at motivation and stress and gut health. Their program modifies to meet where they're at right now. So they're going to be, as you would always say, are we training or are we draining?
Yeah. Well, I was telling Mike as I was looking through his program, I kind of give him a little nudge and said, now you know why I told you 40 or 50 times in the 2.5 years we worked together, this is an internship that will be something that will change the way you live for the rest of your life and help you coach other athletes. This is not just about you getting another master's or setting a world record or your own personal development. This is laying the foundation, because I have special abilities. I knew you'd be doing stuff like this for a long time to come. So, and I don't just let anybody work with me. My goal is I don't take people on unless I know that my work with them is going to have a positive impact on a lot of people, because I only have so many people I can coach. So I want to choose people that, really have enough of a sense of integrity and purpose and mission, vision, and values in life that their life becomes an example to others. So thank you for showing me that my soul's guidance is reliable. We need that. Hello, everybody. In my career as a holistic health practitioner, I've seen a long string of cases of people that showed signs of protein deficiency on lab testing, even though they were eating plenty of protein from animal sources. The problem was that they were eating commercially raised animals, which are loaded with dangerous, toxic farming chemicals, antibiotics, and other drug residues, and the garbage stuffs that they feed commercially raised animals. I've also rehabilitated a long string of vegans and vegetarians who were suffering serious hormonal and physiological imbalances because they were living off commercially raised plant foods, which are also toxic. Additionally, not everyone has the genetic profile, enzymes, or capacity to extract protein from plants, which is trapped in a fiber matrix of the plant. Without exception, and through lab testing, I identified that 100% of these people had leaky gut syndrome, ranging from mild to severe, which means that they were developing immune antibodies against everything they were eating, leaving them between a rock and a hard place when it came to finding foods they could eat without further inflaming their guts. One of my professional aids to healing has always been to find super clean, highly nutritious sources of protein that is easily digested, absorbed, and combined with other vital nutrients that people need to heal and regenerate their bodies effectively and efficiently. One of my go-to products for organic, clean, nutritious, high-density protein is Organifi's Complete Protein All-in-One Mix. This amazing protein powder is 100% certified organic, plant-based, with no soy or whey, making it great for people with sensitivities to common food offenders, and it comes complete with organic source multivitamins and digestive enzymes to enhance digestion, absorption, metabolism, and assimilation. Not only will Organifi's Complete Protein help meet your protein needs, it's gut-friendly, super clean, free of additives, preservatives, and colorings that irritate the gut, tastes great, and is great for the whole family, and can greatly enhance recovery from training and developing more lean muscle mass. To get your Organifi Complete Protein in vanilla or chocolate flavor, go to Organifi.com. That's Organifi.com. And on checkout, use the code capital C, capital H, capital E, capital K 20 to get your special 20% Living 4D discount, which applies to all Organifi products. So shop around while you're there and enjoy the great organic food for you and your whole family. So we've kind of been busy in our own worlds, doing our own things. I spent 6 months moving in here with the girls, and I haven't seen you in a while. And just catching up with you, you mentioned you'd done the carnivore diet for 36 days strict. What was the result of that experience?
Really interesting. It's something, our mutual friend, Anya Fernald, who's the CEO of Belcampo Meats, she's a client of mine and a friend of mine. And we were training together one day, and she just popped up this idea. She goes, Mike, I'd like to just get on a regimen again. And I got some good results from the carnivore diet, and I think I'm going to do it for a little bit. I said, you know what? I'll do it with you. And to go a little bit further, because I just love studying, I love the experiential knowledge aspect of it, I said, I'm going to do it, and I'm going to take some labs. I'm going to do some testing pre and post and share my journey. And
what happened?
So, in terms of the results and what I experienced along the way of going as strict as I could carnivore was, one, I noticed my joints felt a lot better in terms of my joints normally feel really good. But what I noticed is I was able to kind of hop out of bed. And even though I love doing a warm up normally, and I still do, I could literally grab the kettlebell or the Bulgarian bag. And if I wanted, I could go right into it as if like there was more freedom in the joints. So I noticed that.
What do you think that is? Needing more joint tissue, cartilage, tendon, ligament, bone broth?
I think that's a huge part of it. Like some of the take-home lessons was I was drinking over a quart of bone. Anya set me up with the whole meal, how to do it. And so I was doing over a quart of bone broth every day. I was having a whole wide variety of organ meats that I've never had, from thymus gland to liver to heart to kidney. And so that was a regular part of my diet, to also eating raw meat. I'd never really eaten raw meat.
If it's high quality, it's good.
With a raw egg on top, a little raw egg yolk. By the time I posted my first video on that, I think it was over 90 direct messages from my first breakfast of raw meat. People were like, what are you doing? You're crazy. And I was like, it was interesting. I usually feel very vital after I'm eating nutrient-dense foods. I think that's normal. But what I really did notice from the raw meat was when I placed my hands over the food.
It's alive.
It is so alive, and I felt the energy rushing through my hands and through my body. And when I would eat it, it was as if there was just a pick-me-up. And so that was just fascinating. So I think absolutely the amount of bone broth and the nutrient density of things like liver on a regular basis, I think those were tremendous. Mental and emotionally, I felt like I kept very stable, like no real highs and lows. And, I'm more of a protein type by nature. So I would say it worked almost very well with how I normally eat anyway.
Yeah.
So I thought it was great. I mean, really the only drawbacks or things that I would say I might want to do differently is, for me personally, I was a little constipated, and I was
going to ask you if you were having a hard time pooping, because vegetables they have a very important function in our body. And for those of you that are interested in all this kind of stuff, you can listen to my interview with Paul Saladino, MD, because he's a carnivore expert. nose to tail guy. And then on my Living 4D with Paul Chek podcast, which you're listening to right now, we did a series. Matthew Walden, who's our senior instructor, and he's also an osteopath and a naturopathic physician. We did, I think it's a 5 or 6 part series called The Honest Vegetarian, where we look carefully at each of the commonly touted diets out there, and from carnivore to veganism to vegetarianism and variations in between, and analyze them at great depth. It's probably the most comprehensive expose of diets I've ever seen in the world. So the first one, episode 1, is on Living 4D with Paul Chek, and then the other parts of the series, you go to Chekiva, CHEKIVA.com, which is the Institute's social media site, where we have loads of great stuff, audio, video, written, etc. And you can listen to the other 4 or 5 parts. It's been a while since I did it, but I think there's 5 parts or 6 parts in total, and each one's probably 2 hours long. So it's a thorough evaluation of all these different diets. And Matt's a super sharp guy. He brings up a lot of really good points. So it was just as soon as you mentioned that, I was like, well, that's very, very interesting to see that you've personally done that, because I was just curious what would happen. You know, I know myself, I run best when I live on an antifungal diet and eat. Typically I'm a protein type when I'm lifting weights, but I can actually go right to a carb type on days off, and I can pretty much be a vegetarian and feel good. If I did a heavy stone workout or heavy gym workout, my first day of rest, I can still crave meat. I think heavy deadlifts particularly will make me crave meat real strongly the day I do them and the next day. But after that, my metabolism drops right down. It might be too because I'm getting older now. I'm 59, as you know, so everything sort of slows down. You don't make as much testosterone, and I definitely have to rest more than I used to. But I feel good, and it works good. So I've just found for myself that the secret is, because I have a chronic internal fungal infection since I was a kid, I'll always have to be on an antifungal diet. Once it breaks through the surface of your body to the inner domain of your body, you pretty much have to live on an antifungal diet, because those guys they can outsmart your immune system. So, but really, I pretty much live on a carnivore type diet, with the exception that I eat vegetables as directed by my soul. And as long as I just eat what my body wants and don't let my head get involved, I feel fantastic. I'm still lifting big stones and working hard, and there's not that much difference from now and 10 years ago, for example. But if you let your emotions get in the way and you start, medicating your lack of self-management with whatever it might be, chocolate, whatever people do. I mean, if I have a very tight rope on that, but I can easily see the difference in my joints, and like I like my popcorn once a week, so I feel like I get a hangover and my joints can ache like hell. And it's amazing when you are tuned in how quickly you can feel how much of an influence what you're eating and drinking has on your athletic ability.
It's so true. I mean, really what it was for me for those 36 days was just a very strict food elimination diet. I like my treats too, like good quality ones, but just removing those and just being consistent with the other stuff. I definitely noticed a change. And some of the interesting things from a lab perspective was, all my numbers were pretty good, and I'm going to be sharing this stuff on YouTube, and Paul should be, I believe, analyzing it. I've had Johnny Suarez. He analyzed it for like 2 hours, so I can post that up. And I think Dr. Andrew Huberman, who's Anya's boyfriend/partner, but also he's a neuroscientist at Stanford and just a brilliant guy. So they're going to be looking at it. And it was interesting, like my total cholesterol before was quote unquote considered high. I believe it was like in its 260s, jumped to about 450. But when you look at like things like triglycerides, which were good before, those actually exponentially went down. So I think they're in the 40s or so now. And then HDL was very good before, but that actually increased. And so when you're looking at some of these finer tuned markers, insulin sensitivity without surprise was good before, but I became way more insulin sensitive. And so, it was a really great learning experience. But for me, to be honest, for my lifestyle, it was just a little bit too restrictive. I'd like some good olive oil. I got some good olive oil from Italy, and I've got I'm Italian. I got a beautiful garden in the backyard. And so for me, outside of just, you know, fine tuning maybe the constipation aspect, but then also just allowing a little bit more freedom, those are the only things that I would really just modify. But more or less, I kind of eat on a carnivore diet like yourself.
So what you're saying is that your test results are kind of contradictory to the whole vegan and vegetarian concept, because based on the literature and documentaries they put out, you should be suffering from coronary artery disease and feeling like shit right now.
Let's just say I felt incredible. My joints felt good. My skin, just complexion of the skin improved. Sleeping was good. And it didn't, you know, there was an adaptation phase. In week 1, what I noticed is I had diarrhea for the first 5 days. But then after that, now I really, my training, I was very in tune with my training throughout that month or so. So I didn't actually get into hard workouts until week 3. So in the beginning, I was just allowing myself to rest and absorb the adaptations and the changes. But it was a really interesting, just a time of very in-depth focus, fine-tuning of what my body's experiencing.
Well, the diarrhea could be from a couple things. One, you're not bringing in the same bacterial organisms because you've cut out the plant foods. And 2, you're getting a lot more of the organisms coming in on those specific animals that you're eating. And 3, and probably counterintuitive for most people, you may have been getting such a huge amount of creatine from all that meat that you're actually having a side effect of a lot of creatine in your body. Because creatine, one of the first effects of it, if you get more of it than your body can absorb, is you get diarrhea. That's one of the telltale signs you're overdosing on creatine. And the next one is you start getting pimples and skin problems because your body's detoxing it right through your skin. But it's probably more the bacterial profile shift than anything else. But flesh food is where you get creatine from, especially red meat. So you might have just been jacked up with creatine. How did your energy feel as far as endurance go? Do you notice any difference in your sort of your capacity for longer sets?
No problem whatsoever. Now, I didn't test it till week 3, really, but I was very surprised. And actually, at the end of it, I did, it was a photo shoot for Kettlebell Lifestyle. And as you know from filming, it's like you're going all day, holding positions. You're shaking for the camera. And so
modeling's brutal.
It is so challenging. You know, I was probably going for almost 7 hours straight, nonstop. And usually, and I say this very humbly, but it's usually the cameraman, and Eli, our guy, can attest to this. It's usually the cameraman's hands that will go before my lifting. And I was able to maintain the whole day and just keep going and keep going. So I didn't have too many tests, but the ones that I did, I was like really impressed at how energetically stable and how much energy I had.
Yeah. The other thing is, too, now I always get this wrong, but you won a world championship before in kettlebell lifting, right?
Powerlifting and kettlebell sport.
Okay, so you've got 2 world champions. Jeez, your trophy chest must be awful impressive. You got to rent a small warehouse for all your wins. That's a lot of metal.
I don't like, you know, the powerlifting trophies were the coolest because a lot of them were like medieval. I have swords that they would give as trophies and battle axes, and those are some of the coolest ones that I keep around. Honestly, I just kind of like just recycle most of them, unless they're the really important ones.
I've still got a bunch of my boxing and triathlon trophies in the garage. I think I told the girls to get rid of them, but those were really intense times in my life, you know, and so I've never wanted to throw them out, but I think when we moved here, we just had to get rid of so much stuff. They might be gone now, but it was neat to, as we were moving, look back and see trophies from when I was in my 20s and winning triathlons and boxing matches and stuff. It was neat to have them. But so you just did this Bulgarian bag max spin contest with a Bulgarian bag. So you did 308 reps. What was the weight of that thing? It looked heavy.
There was a medium weight, so 26 pounds.
26, okay. It looked bigger on the film. So you could change directions though, couldn't you?
You can, yep. But you can't let go of the main handles. Right. So you can't like hug it. You can't stop the momentum of the bag. You got to keep going. And then if you switch directions, you can do that. Yeah.
And you were right here at Zen in the Garden like the next day, weren't you?
I was so sore. And like there was no training for that. I haven't honestly tested myself in a real workout for a while. Yeah. But I got a message from Coach Ivan Ivanov, who is the inventor of the bag, former Bulgarian Olympian, former U.S. Olympic coach. He's one of my mentors with that tool, and I teach for him. And he just writes me an email. He goes, very short, he's just something along the lines like, Mike, I've just completed a max spin test of 249 reps. I challenge you to do the same. And then I was thinking, I was like, man, I'd really like to train for this for a few weeks. I'd like to see. And I was like, you know what? Screw it. Let's just see what I can do. And so I went outside in the backyard and warmed up for a few minutes and was really stoked. 308 reps. What I want to do now is I really actually want to train for it because I enjoyed it so much. And the rotational aspect, the grip aspect, the core aspect, the lateral, the rotational movement. So I want to go see if I can do between 400 and 500 reps and just write a program for it. But it's been amazing because people from now all over the world, having just shared that just 2-3 days ago, are just catching on like wildfire. So it's been super, super cool to see a simple movement, but also a very integrated movement and a fun movement to do that people are loving testing themselves with.
It's a hard movement to do in high volume like that because of the complexity of all the 3 planes of movement, flexion, extension, side bending, and rotating are all involved in that. So if anyone doesn't have a good, healthy spine, they're going to find the weakness doing that. So yes, it requires some development. So that's pretty good. So now you have 3 world championship.
Well, let's say that one's like a soft one in terms of not really, it's just like a fun competition, but yeah.
Well, that's still cool.
Yeah. One of the things that I know,
you can invite other people to try to take your championship.
I think they already have. What's funny is like, it's so true about, when people broke, what was it? The 4-minute mile.
Yeah.
It was like, Ivan set that 2:49. Now I wasn't counting reps. I had my partner Lauren counting reps for me afterwards. So I had no idea where I was, but just seeing the 2:49 that Coach Ivan did, like I knew that I was probably going to surpass it or come close to it at least. And now I think even someone posted today, I think they already, beat me. And I'm just like, awesome. Like I'm a huge fan of friendly competition. Like, I'm a huge fan. I think we need it for our growth, for our development, for our community. And so I'm stoked for people. I'm like, beat me. Let's go. And let's rise together.
It won't be easy though. Trust me. If Mike invites you to a competition, you better come ready because I have memories of getting into competitions with Mike, and my old body just said, "What are you doing? You forgot how old you are? This guy's a kid. He's in his 20s, and you're trying to kill him."
You remember that time when we were deadlifting?
Well, of course, yes. That's what I'm talking about. That's the one that hurt the most. It took me a month to recover from that. 405 off the box, right?
4-inch box, yeah.
Yeah. We both did 10 reps, didn't we?
Yeah, I think we were just kept going up and and seeing what we could do to maintain 10s all the way from 135 all the way up to 4 plates.
And off the box, that's like adding 50 pounds to the bar. Roughly, it's about a 50-pound difference for effort. So that'd be like doing 10 with 450. And at that time, I was probably, 40? No, let's see, I was 50-something. How long ago was that?
Let's say 2015.
So 5 years ago.
Yeah.
So I'd have been 54. That must have been right around the time Mono was coming into the world.
Yeah.
Wow. Well, I can't say young, dumb, and full of cum, but I can say old and not thinking very well when he's challenging him. But you were probably, 27?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, there you go. That goes to show you that I might not be always that smart.
But being honest, I don't know very many people outside of maybe competitive powerlifters who specialize in that could remotely hang with what you were doing too. So it's it was not easy for me. I was sore for a week.
Yeah. It's hard. Well, at least I practice what I preach, right?
100%.
Hi, everybody. I'm sure you've all heard of the benefits of bone broth, but I bet you don't know about bone broth protein powder. I found an awesome bone broth protein powder with Paleo Valley, and I asked Autumn Smith if she'd explain why hers is so good from Paleo Valley.
Well, like you said, collagen is basically the fountain of youth, and most of us are not getting enough of it in our diet because maybe we don't have time to simmer bones on a regular basis. And so we created our powder to make getting the benefits of collagen for your joint health, for your gut health, for your mental health, really, really simple. And we sourced it from 100% grass-fed and grass-finished bones. So it is a beef bone broth protein powder that you can literally put in everything. It's tasteless. I add it to my son's smoothies. I put it into his desserts. You can even put it in soup and get all the benefits of collagen without all of the time and energy and investment. So all you have to do to check it out is go to our website at paleovalley.com. That's PALEOVALLEY.com. And you can use the code CHEK15. That's lowercase CHEK 15 at checkout. And I hope your family loves it.
I know you'll love it. Keep your body healthy, keep your kids healthy, and let's make the world a better place with Paleo Valley. Enjoy.
Well, let's get into some of this discussion on your new program, because I really think it's an important program for people. And I'll give you guys all a hint that are listening. I'm promoting Mike's Kettlebell Lifestyle program, which I don't normally do because I don't want to draw people away from the Chek Institute's teachings.
Mm-hmm.
But the unique thing is that I felt so compelled to do this because, one, with the whole COVID environment, we really need something that guides people step by step and gives them the support they need, so that if they're a beginner, then they have the support of a coach. But if they're more advanced, they have the support of a world champion athlete in this sport with a lot of experience and multiple Russian masters titles under his belt. So if you're going to learn how to do something, learn how to do it from the best. That's what I always tell people. So knowing you and seeing your previous program and knowing how well you do stuff, I thought I got to help Mike promote this, because there's just so many people out there in the world that just need to get moving. And with all the gyms being shut down, they just shut the gyms down in San Diego again. Don't get me started on what I think about all that. But, you know, the reality of it is there's just a huge percentage of the population. Research I ran across a number of years ago by Michael Mogadun, who's got a master's degree in public health, showed that only 8% of women, and I think it was 3% of women, do any regularly scheduled exercise on any given day, and that included walking a dog. So when you consider that about 97% of women and 94% of men are sedentary, but clearly one of the beautiful things about COVID is it's shown that the people that are really having the problems are the people that are already not taking care of themselves. So all my friends in the health and exercise business that have, you know, health products or good exercise systems or online training have all seen huge increases in business, which means people are waking up to the fact that it's time to start getting involved in them, in their life, and taking care of themselves. So I thought we could dive in with a discussion of how this program is really important for mind-body fitness, not just physical fitness, but mind-body fitness and even emotional fitness, because you really have to learn to manage your emotions if you want to push yourself to levels of conditioning that are of any significance. I mean, yeah, you can be sedentary and get generally fit without too much emotionally stressing. In other words, you know, the discipline it takes and listening to your kind of self that wants to cop out and saying, oh, you don't need to do that today, you're tired, or you do this, you got to go do this, you got to do, you know, all the excuses the head generates. But to have a program like that where you can have somebody there guiding you, that you can literally use your phone or your tablet or whatever and carry it right into the gym or out in your backyard or your porch or wherever, is pretty phenomenal. So I really want to talk about this from the bigger perspective of how it's relevant to what's going on in the world right now and what's always going on in the world.
I love that. You know, I think one of the biggest things, like my dream when I created this program, and it still is very true right now and moving forward, is to create and support 10,000 balanced athletes in the world.
That's a nice goal.
Let's
go to 100.
I like it. Let's up it.
Go to them all.
Well, it's that, you know, the description that many of the people have gone through the program so far. So we have people representing over 20 countries in the program from all walks of life, from I've got firefighters to construction workers to musicians to cooks to former athletes to current athletes. And I would say, you know, I give surveys throughout the program, especially with the beta groups that I took through it, to get feedback and to make it better. And there was 3 words that kept coming up. And it was comprehensive, integrated, and the one that came up the most was intentional.
Good.
And so the program is not only an accurate reflection of how I train and how I coach and teach, But the programs truly is all, the name of the program is Kettlebell Lifestyle, because the lifestyle aspect of it is equally, if not more important than everything you do with a bell. You know, my goal was just like you taught me and trained me and how I coach. It's when people go through the program, we're utilizing a kettlebell, one bell. So it's very accessible to anybody. Kettlebell is a fantastic total body training tool, but really it's about developing a healthy training lifestyle, healthy movement lifestyle that incorporates elements, you know, that we can talk about, the four doctors and how those things, and it's for me, it's about connecting people with the self-awareness and the internal knowledge that they have themselves. And to manage their body mind, they need to check in with themselves.
Yes.
And that's a huge, if that I would say is probably the most important personalized aspect of the program that truly makes it holistic, that when you go through it, you can apply those principles to any program in the future that you do.
Yes.
Checking in with your stress level, checking in with your muscle and joint soreness level, checking in with how's your gut doing, your motivation level. All those things are hugely, hugely important. That I am a fan when there's a time and a place for technology, but when you master these questions that you can just answer in 15 to 30 seconds, you could be in the woods training, you could be wherever.
You are the technology.
You are the technology.
This is where I don't like biohacking, because as you and I have discussed before, you become reliant on gadgets. But what this is what I call bioharmonizing. You're integrating your perceptual faculties, your ability to be aware of what's happening in yourself with your body. So instead of needing a gadget to interface with what you should be aware of, you're actually interfacing with the rest of yourself. So the deeper you go in that way, the more intimate and the more aware you get of what's happening inside yourself. And because a lot of most athletes lack that, that's why there's a lot of injuries that wouldn't happen if they were more tuned in, because they would realize, okay, something's happening with my Achilles tendon or my shoulder way in advance. But, you know, the old follow the program no matter what, no pain, no gain, don't be a pussy, get out there and do it, just ruins more athletes, unfortunately, than it actually creates, which is never ideal.
That's what happened to me time and time again. And that was such like, I do my best to bring as much heart to the program, and anyone who goes through it and sees it, hopefully, even before you get in the program, there's an onboarding questionnaire and a process that you go through that you'll know right away how different the program is. And the questionnaire before you even lift a bell not only serves to give you the recommended level that you should be to start with, but more than anything, you will learn so much about yourself just by considering what is really the quality of my sleep. What is my hydration level? What does my posture look like? A lot of times, even when I'm teaching and I ask, you know, people like, what's kind of your experience level with bells? And, oh, they go, Mike, I'm good. You know, I can do X, Y, and Z. I'm like, okay. And I would say about 98% of the time, I'm like, whoa, this person needs to go way back needs to regress way back. And I feel like many coaches, trainers, and we have an unrealistic view of where we are.
Actually, research shows that the average person overestimates their own level of competency or skill by 70%.
Wow.
So if you say to someone, rate how good of a driver you are on a scale of 1 to 10, and then they take them to a driving course and test them, which is one of the ways they did this, the average person overestimates their actual abilities by about 70%.
Wow. I believe
Except
it.
me. If I challenge you, you know it's going to be real.
Oh my gosh.
I had one of my buddies in here the other day who esteems himself as a stud. So after hearing all this monkey business for a while, I said, okay, it's time for the old man to put an end to that. So, you know, he's much younger than me. He's in his 30s. So I jumped up and banged out 4 single arm chin-ups and said, okay. And he had his girlfriend with him. I said, your turn. And he couldn't even get one. So I said, now quit yakking about how damn fit and strong you are, would you? I'm old enough to be your father. You might want to read how to move and be healthy to start with.
Yeah.
But anyhow, let's get into some of these important points I want to discuss with you. So what I'm going to do is, we've already sort of touched on a little bit of this just in our dialogue so far, but I'm going to read you the question here just because there's some kind of framework. I want to set the question up so that when we get into it, we know exactly what we're talking about. It's apparent to me that the whole COVID crisis has really brought to light the importance of the power of mind. What we believe is what we create within and around us, both personally and collectively. Those most challenged by issues of COVID are those most challenged with self-management as a general theme: overweight, out of shape, not eating or living well, and not using their mind to discern fact from make-believe in the media. Whenever we believe in a new dragon, i.e. the issues at hand, we invite a new dragon into our lives. Regardless of one's disposition as to the true nature of COVID, what remains real and always real in any time and in any personal, social, or collective circumstance is how one manages themselves within regard to their 4 doctors, which is, mind, movement, diet, and rest. So, Mike, let's look at your Kettlebell Lifestyle program from the perspective of what it offers anyone with regard to creating open-mindedness, mental awareness, and resilience in each of the 4 doctors, so people can gain awareness of how powerful the Kettlebell Lifestyle program is for each key 4-doctor aspect of their lives. So if we start with Dr. Happiness, which in my model, Dr. Happiness is the domain of mind, correlates to the air element, which is also linked to mind and breathing, of course. Mm-hmm. And mind and the air element represents spring in the 4 seasons. So spring is the beginning of a new program, for example. The decision to start anything new would be springtime. So even if it's wintertime outside, but you start a new project like building a new program or building a new house, it's springtime. Springtime is when we plan and get ourselves ready, like a New Year's resolution or your goals for the year would be spring. So from a perspective of creating happiness, I tell people, as you know all the time, if you don't identify what's happy making for you, include those activities somehow, some way on a daily basis, then the next thing you know is you're expecting someone else to make you happy, or you need some drug or, some addictive food to create happiness for you, which creates a bit of a trap. But really when it comes to taking care of our bodies and doing a conditioning like your Mastering Kettlebell program or Kettlebell Lifestyle program, either of them, and Mastering the Kettlebell is still available, right?
Yep. That's basically become what I've realized is the level of depth in there. It's truly like a trainer's education program. Over 400 videos. This is the complementary aspect to that, which is the guided follow-along workout program.
Yeah, so this is really designed for anybody at home, either from beginners to more fit athletes that just want to get skilled training.
100%.
So really, let's talk about that. How do you see this program, Kettlebell Lifestyle, correlating to creating happiness, using your mind effectively, getting a new start, and breathing?
Yeah. So what I'm observing in people today is, like you mentioned, they're stuck up in their mind, right? But what's in their mind is basically dragons, fear, survival. Mm-hmm. And one of the most powerful things in my experience that anybody can do to get out of their mind and into their body, into their heart, into their root, and getting stable is through the breath. And so what I created in the program was essentially under 10-minute long morning routines. You can do them in the morning or really any time of day. Mm-hmm. And the whole focus is gentle movement, warming up the spine, mm-hmm. and then simple breathing exercises that basically teach you how to truly breathe in 3D.
Good.
So each phase builds on the one prior, mm-hmm. and there's a new morning routine. So there's follow along, as I mentioned, and what I found just simply, every single aspect of the program, and I've heard this from many students, whether it's the personalized stretching program or the morning routines. Yes, as a whole, it can be really, really powerful. But what I said is what I've shared with people is the goal is to get people first and foremost in touch with their body, so they develop that self-awareness mm-hmm. from a grounded place to really understand who's running the show.
Yeah.
Is it the media running the show? Is it them? What ideas are theirs? What ideas are external? And you can't do that unless you're grounded in your body.
You can't. It's extremely important. And, one of the things that I have the most coaching work I have to do is whenever I give people a work in practice mm-hmm. and a daily routine to do, because they always are making excuses about why they don't have time. Why? Because they're still caught in their old behavior patterns and thought patterns. So one of the things that I tell people is the most important thing you can do is develop the healthy routine.
Mm-hmm.
And so what I say is if you're going to do Tai Chi with the sun or breathing with the sun or yoga or meditation with the sun, then even if you don't feel like doing it, I say just go out and sit or stand. And if the best thing you can do is just take a power nap, then at least you're maintaining the routine. So you got to go to that spot. And I always tell them when I write exercise programs, look, here's the ideal program I've designed for you. But if all you have time to do is the first 2 exercises, then do the first 2 exercises, because I write the programs so that the most important things, the first thing in the program. So if you don't have time to work out, do your stretches and mobilizations. And if you don't have time to do your working in and your stretches and mobilizations, then start with your working in, right? So what I love about the program that you were just talking about is that you can actually just do the warm-up sequences to start your day and the breathing, and you can build that healthy routine by just doing that part of it and you know, starting with that little, you know. So what percentage of the, you said almost all the workouts can be done in under an hour, right?
If you were to do every aspect from morning routine to joint mobility warm-up, to skill warm-up, to workout, to post-exercise stretching, which are all the components in every single workout day, let's say, in under 60 minutes for sure. But as you mentioned, the feedback has been really, you know, I'm just thinking of one of the firefighters that went through the program, just from the personalized flexibility program, which anybody can do in less than 12 to 15 minutes. If you wanted to do them all, it's just 4 stretches, but it prioritizes for your body. Just that, or just the morning routine, or just the joint mobility, has the ability to completely change your life. And so that's exactly what you shared has been my experience. Yes, if you have the energy, the resources on hand, you can do the full thing for sure.
Mm-hmm.
But if not, just keep the routine. And right now, in my experience and in my observation, people need structure because they're directionless and they're at home and there's distractions. And so this provides structure. And then as you learn, and then when you go through it, then you can provide some freedom and framework. But it's to support people to get back into their body first and foremost and let that guide the process.
And the other thing is almost everything that people are seeing in the media is bad news. But if they start with their Kettlebell Lifestyle program, then the first thing they get every day is good news. Right? Start your day with good news. And, you know, when it comes to using our mind, we have to learn to overcome disempowering habits and belief patterns. So if you can engage, for a lot of people dealing with their fears or their belief system, that's a very deep process. So I tell people always start with what you are willing to work with. And most of us know for sure if our bodies aren't the way we want them, that we have an issue to deal with. And instead of having to worry about whether, you know, your religion's really helping you or not, or your beliefs about COVID are helping you or not, I tell people fear is never a good seeing eye dog. So the first thing you can do is with Kettlebell Lifestyle, you can actually start with working with your body because it's very tangible, right? And it doesn't matter what your other beliefs are, as long as they're not stopping you from getting there to begin your routine with the basics of the breathing and the warming up. And if all that does is build you a healthy routine, you're already well on your way to having the confidence that you can change the more challenging aspects of your life because you're starting with something that's achievable. I think a lot of people need to learn how to have success. And by starting with something that they can have success at, they grow their confidence in their ability to make changes on bigger and bigger levels.
I think that's so important because one of the things that I do feel exactly is missing today is it's very challenging for people. And I speak through the experience that I've had as well and through coaching is celebrating ourselves and celebrating our wins. It can be very challenging for people. But once you learn and you do that and little wins develop over time into big wins, you develop the momentum, you develop the rhythm, the harmony, the synchronicity, you start rolling with things. And then really life just gets a little bit easier. And what you shared earlier about having a dream being so important, you know, one of the things that was important for me in this program is, you know, I've had some amazing mentors over the years, you being the top. And I brought in other people as well that are amazing contributors to the program to support people in aspects, to be honest, that have way more experience than me.
Yes.
And so, for example, like I brought in Mark England, who is a TEDx speaker on goal setting.
Yes, I saw that. It was very good.
So getting people to have, before they start the program, what direction are you heading? Anyone coming in who's going to resonate with the program is going to be of the, it's not for everybody, in the sense of like, if you just want to get your ass whooped in a CrossFit workout, it's not for you. But if you really want to learn how to manage yourself, how to take your skill development and really learn a longevity training process that's not going to beat you down day in and day out, then the program's perfect for you. And that's really what was my mission, was to have it be reflective of, you know, what I really do believe works for the long term.
You know, Bioptimizers makes an amazing product called P3OM, which is a prebiotic product. And it's amazing for not only helping repopulate the gut with friendly bacteria, but as Wade will tell you, it's really, really an amazing product in case you ever feel like you're getting any kind of food poisoning or illness coming on. And Wade's right here with me, and he's the co-founder of Bioptimizers, and he knows more about P3OM than anybody. But I can tell you this, I've had nothing but excellent results and nothing but positive feedback from all my clients and friends that I've turned on to P3OM. So Wade, tell us a little bit about P3OM and why it works so well.
Well, P3OM is, we call it the Navy SEAL of probiotics.
Amen.
Basically, its job is to kick out the bad guys in your body. Food poisoning is one of those things from bad bacteria. What we've done is we've taken an aggressive strain of L. plantarum. We put it into toxic soup, ran a sine wave to keep a few of them alive. And the few survivors we grow in very specialized medium to make a cultured, patented enzyme that has extraordinary powers. Number one, it survives the intestinal tract.
Yes.
And number two, it is absolutely hunts down pathogens in the body, bacteria, viruses, these type of things. And this is really where the future of probiotics is. It is about developing and culturing and creating super strains of probiotic, very much like the Navy SEALs go through a training, and these individuals have extraordinary powers to deal with chaos. And in today's world where we want to improve our immunity and our function and our gut health, P3OM is head and shoulders above any probiotic out there.
So my understanding is it can be used daily as a supplement, but it can also be used in larger quantities as a defense measure.
We've tested this literally with over 100 of our friends who have been suffering from various times of food poisoning. And a handful of those guys, when you're in food poisoning, and within 20 to 30 minutes, you complete recovery.
That's awesome. And I've seen it happen myself. Angie has felt bad a number of times, and several of people in the house or family have. And I say, take 10. If that doesn't feel good in an hour, take 20. And you've told me you can't overdose on them, which is amazing.
Yeah, that's the beauty of P3OM. You can't take too much. They'll fight off the bad guys, and they'll get your digestion rocking and rolling the way it should.
So if you want to have a healthy gut and you want some defense, carry P3OM with you wherever you go, airplanes, cars, business meetings, hotels, conferences, and you've got your Navy SEALs in the bottle, and they're ready for you anytime. Wade, how do we get a hold of your amazing P3OM product?
Super easy. Just go to www.bioptimizers.com/living4D and put in Paul10 for your 10% discount code. That's BIOPTIMIZERS.com/living4D and Paul10 for your discount code.
You got it. There you go. Try it. You'll love it. I use them. I can't tell you enough how much I love this product. I think it's a genius product, and you've heard it right from the master himself. Get your P3OM. Let us know how you feel about it. Lots of love. The other thing is you might get your ass whooped in a CrossFit session, but you're not going to learn the necessary biomechanics and concepts and self-assessments. I mean, those are no pain, no gain people. I mean, they're out there and great. They need to create a kind of a shaman's firewalk for themselves just to prove that they're alive. But those same people doing this program could learn the skills and the techniques that would allow them to do CrossFit and modify their workouts and know when to rest. So even though there is that mindset out there, that mindset produces a lot of income for Chek professionals because, regardless of what CrossFit might say, it generates a lot of injuries. And I know it for a fact because I've rehabbed them, and I've got 15,000 Chek practitioners around the world telling me all the time, oh yeah, so-and-so see me because they got hurt in CrossFit. And it's not just CrossFit, it's almost anything, because people, try to torture themselves with everything from, ice cream to sex to sugar to psychedelics to automobiles to whatever. It's just about learning how to manage yourself, period. So I think your programs, both Kettlebell Lifestyle and Mastering the Kettlebell, for those people are extremely important, because if you want to torture yourself, do it with skill, right? That way you can keep doing it. Otherwise, you just beat yourself up, and all you do is buy a new car for your orthopedic surgeon, but you don't get to choose the model, make, or color. And you're never going to drive it. So,
well, one thing that comes up right there was like when I was shooting the program, when I was shooting the level 1, let's say the beginners, and then level 2, the intermediate option, I had a person in mind who I was speaking to. And the person, for example, with the level 2 is one of my clients, Patrick. Now, Patrick was, he was actually a part of Greg Glassman when he was in the very first, when he started CrossFit years ago, the very original gym in Santa Cruz. And then he got away from that. But Patrick was essentially a high-level jiu-jitsu practitioner, athlete, in his 50s, but had, if I don't recall if it was 7 hip surgeries and 6 knee surgeries or vice versa. But he basically came to me, and he's the type of guy who only knows how to put his foot on the gas 0 to 100. He has no gauge in between. Yeah. And so he basically had hired me, like, Mike, I need you to teach me how to basically put the reins on how hard should I go, how hard to push, how hard to back off. And that's exactly what the program is. It teaches you that system for you to guide that, how much your volume should be, when you're way too stressed out. Should it be a working in day, a flexibility day? And so he was basically the type of person that I was speaking to. And I think there's a lot of people who can relate to that, who miss doing what they love or want to do something that they love, but they just physically can't because their joints aren't there, or their gut's inflamed. Or
he went from CrossFit to cross flat.
Yeah.
So, let's not flatten ourselves. I took the concept of no pain, no gain, and turned it into train, don't drain. There's a skillful application to draining. When I was writing your kettlebell programs, we certainly put some high intensity, hard workouts. I mean, I remember seeing you with blisters covering your whole hand and training in pain. And so when you're ready for that, that's what you got to do. I remember telling you, I'm sure you remember my conversations. I said, Mike, you want that little puff? You're working to win against Russians who have been raised in a very tough environment, and this kettlebell sport is their way out of the country. It's their way to have financial freedom. So I had to push you to levels that are psychologically very, very hard for anyone to do. So when you have skilled coaching and you're learning all the things that I taught you, then you know exactly when to back off, and you also know where to look inside of your diet and lifestyle to see, okay, what might be adding stress that I need to be careful of so that I don't ruin my athletic endeavor by eating myself into inflammation or not getting enough sleep and burning myself out. But the beauty is you've taken all these key things that I taught you and put it right into this program, but even did something that I haven't done other than in my books and in my public work, and that's make it available to the average individual. And, I'm an expensive guy to coach with. So doing this program, you're kind of getting the best of me and the best of Mike and the best of several of his other mentors at a very, very reasonable price, which is pretty damn impressive. So when it comes to Dr. Movement, that represents spirit. Spirit is, by definition, spirit is anytime you're transforming one thing into another, you're using spirit. Spirit is also the flow of energy and information. So when we're working out, there's energy flowing through us and there's information being gained because we're learning about ourselves, we're learning about the environment, we're learning about the techniques and the tools we're using, and we're gaining information. So there's energy flowing and there's information. That's spirit. Dr. Movement represents summer, the heat of growth, right? That's when everything's growing. So when we're in the summer phase of
the program, for example, the warm-up is the spring phase, getting your mind right, getting your breathing right, getting your body ready. Then we go into the summer phase, and that's the fire phase. And so there we're really pushing ourselves. So talk to me about what's the Dr. Movement Spirit Fire summer action like for the Kettlebell Lifestyle program?
Yeah, that shows up in two ways, or at least how I see it. One, like you mentioned, in the workout itself. And I've always loved how you've related things to elements, to seasons, and that was something that was completely foreign to me before. And so whether you look at it as you were just sharing it from a workout perspective, or just the phases of training, in my experience, most people are strictly sticking to what we would call like a performance phase. Summer.
Yeah, burnout.
Well, this program teaches you go through the process. It's experiential, and this is where we truly change or transform knowledge into wisdom. We add the experience component. And so before you even start the program, what you're going to be focusing on is, yes, the movement is in there for sure. There's some sample workout in there, but it's about developing and learning the working in, the stretching, the longevity aspect. And then when you go into phase one, that's like movement foundations. How can we learn the base movement patterns, the base kettlebell skills, develop? And this is, in my experience as well today, so missing in strength and conditioning and programs is there's been such a focus on total body complex movements.
Yes.
But we forgot the more isolated segmental strengthening exercises. And so in that foundational phase, we bring up all the small areas of the body and then that are going to support the larger total body movements. And the unique thing and the cool thing is we do that through training in different ranges, through different angles. So training, even just learning how to hip hinge through glute bridges, but with multiple lower body positions to get a more quality training effect of the glute that if you can't do on your back on the ground and build the volume, when you go to do a deadlift or a swing or a clean that's more complex than that, it's going to magnify in its deficit, let's say. So from the phasing to the integration of those two, those were two, huge things that I wish, as like when I was studying your stuff in I don't know, when I was 18, let's say it's been, over 15, 16 years. At that time, a lot of what I read you writing, because the culture was more bodybuilding approach, more isolated. And then you were one of the pioneers of the functional training. And now it's just gone in like this crazy direction. So it's kind of like, how can we bring it back and be a little bit more strategic and a little bit more mindful and thoughtful about integrating both?
Yeah, one of the nice things about all your programs is they have a tremendous amount of detail with beautiful filming, multiple angles of view for technique. And I always tell people repetition is the mother of skill, provided there's skill in the repetition. Perfect practice makes perfect. So the problem is a lot of people doing a lot of these ass kicker fitness programs like we're talking about, they don't really have good knowledge. Nobody really taught them what good technique. And as you know from your own experience, a lot of the so-called coaches and trainers in gyms that are leading a lot of these ass kicker workouts don't have good technical training or skill themselves. So it really becomes a more contest to see who can do the most work. But when you're doing the most work with the worst form, that usually means you're making installments into somebody else's bank account. You just haven't met them yet, and they're going to be a doctor or a therapist. And, that was the first thing I did with you is look at your technique. And right away, I recognized the standard Russian kettlebell style, which has some, things that I needed to work on with you because it produces a lot of injuries. That's how I knew exactly what was going on. So it really does take somebody that has a background with a deep enough understanding of orthopedics to be able to say, okay, what is the standard technique for any given lift, but how can we modify that so it's actually safer than what is commonly done, knowing where most people are weak and where, the other thing is that a lot of people have an idea in their head that they have good form. Because, I've worked with thousands and thousands of elite athletes, and they all think, oh, my deadlift's perfect or whatever. But then when I point out 12 things that could be improved, they're in shock. Like, well, how come I never noticed this? Well, because it's hard to see yourself. It's really hard to see yourself. So, when you have somebody showing you things, even on video, to bring your awareness to it, such as, for example, where should your weight shift be on the balls of your feet relative to your heels or in the middle? How do you, swing a kettlebell, or
jerk a kettlebell so that you're getting optimal muscle sequencing so you're not overloading one area of your body at the expense of another area. Now, the average person's not going to know that stuff, so you might get the kettlebell to go up or the bar to go up, but you don't realize that every time you do a rep like that, you're actually training the program with the wrong sequencing, which overloads muscles and joints prematurely because those muscles and joints are coming in too early in the movement, which leads to often a reversal of the recruitment patterns in the kinetic chain. So, for example, of the reversal, if you're picking the bell up with your hands, instead of accelerating it with your hips and your legs, you're going little to big in the sequencing, meaning the hands muscles are the smallest and they're initiating the movement, but you should be going with the biggest muscles in your body to initiate the movement and progressively to the smallest muscles. So the analogy I give is cracking a whip. You can't crack a whip if you hold it from the tail end and try to snap the handle. It'll never work. You have to go from the big end to the small end to crack the whip. So when we're lifting weights, we always have to remember the biggest muscles in the movement are doing the primary work, and the progressively smaller muscles are adding momentum and control. But it's extremely common, as you know, for people to reverse that order because they're just not aware of what they're doing.
That's so true. And when you take that and then you look at it from like a progression perspective, if you're doing that on the deadlift, that's going to show up on the swing, that's going to show up on the clean. So if you don't have kind of the building blocks approach, it's very easy to a lot of problems could be avoided if we focused on some of the foundations first. And then what's dope too, and what I really, I'm super excited about this program is by the end of it, when you're in the performance phase, it is some really fun movements, rotational cleans. We've got what I call sprinter swings, but every single phase and every single workout prior to that, without even knowing it, you're building the building blocks to get there. So from even just the position in which you're holding, let's say, a single arm, single leg, almost like I call it like a modified sprinter deadlift, you're building the extensor endurance of the spine just from the row that you're going to use once you get into phase 3 when you do a sprinter swing and you use these really fun spinal mechanics that train in figure eights. And so what people have shared as well is like, man, that phase 3, like that was a challenging movement, but I'm surprised at how well I'm able to perform it from a quality perspective. And I was like, that's because without even knowing it, that's why it took me 3 months to design those workouts so that everything progresses and you learn those foundations and those details. And when you learn, even just like what you were saying, you can look at a deadlift and just adjusting where the eyes focus or just the head and neck, just one factor can be a completely game changer for the person or the athlete. But it takes knowledge, it takes a coach's eye, it takes the awareness. And so, for example, during the workouts, I'm coaching 2 completely different lifters. So I'm coaching a beginner lifter, and then I'm coaching an intermediate lifter. And when they make little mistakes, you actually see me coaching them and coaching you.
So you can
I'm in your ear.
Most people make similar mistakes as in the beginning, right? The standard mistakes are pretty common. But one of the things that I want to bring up that's very, very important, and it's not very often talked about, I've rehabilitated, as you know, countless thousands of athletes, be they weekend warriors or the best athletes in the world. And one of the things that I saw happening over and over again throughout my career is that somebody might get a rotator cuff injury or a back injury or any number of injuries, as you know. And so what do? They go to a physical therapist or a chiropractor or an osteopath or a doctor. The problem is, what percentage of those people do you think actually understand the mechanics of lifting?
Slim to none.
Slim to none.
Slim to none.
Slim to none. So what happens is they go help you take your pain away, but they send you right back to go lift incorrectly again, and you just get screwed up worse. Because each time you re-injure yourself, you increase the likelihood that that's going to be a long-term biomechanical deficit, and you can completely destroy your career. And I've seen many athletic careers ruined exactly that way, because eventually it ends up being a surgery, which is now a surgical wound on top of the injury. So the point I'm driving at is that the course you've designed actually teaches people how to be aware of and do all the things that they're not going to get taught by 99.9% of the therapists out there, because those are mostly sedentary people as well that have almost no understanding of the mechanics of exercise or weightlifting in general. So you can save yourself from a lot of doctor's visits and expenses by just learning how to do things right. And if you're an athlete listening to this of any level of skill, from grandma athlete to world-class athlete, who's had injuries and repeated injuries, such as repeated neck, back, shoulder type injuries, this program can be excellent for you, because just listening to the technique portion, you're probably going to keep going, oh my God, I didn't know that. Or, oh, wow, I make that mistake all the time. And you're going to realize, okay, that's where a lot of your money went to therapists right there. But the buck stops right there when you learn how to do it right.
It's so true. And like, even right now with the times of COVID, like, it's at least where I live in Northern California, like for at least the first 6-ish months, give or take, of COVID, massage therapists couldn't practice. And I think they just got able to practice again, and they just took that away. And
yeah.
So it's like, even if you wanted and you had the funds, for example, to invest in, working with a therapist, massage therapist, or whatever it may be, you can't right now. So
you're going to have to do it virtually.
You have to do it virtually.
Put your hand here, squeeze, rub, which is never going to be the same.
I'm sure all of you know that mushrooms have a wide range of amazing healing benefits, and they're talked about a lot in the news these days. There's a huge amount of research going on. And one of the companies that does a lot of research and produces excellent products, of course, is Symbiotica. And they have an amazing new organic longevity mushroom product. So Sherveen's here to explain to us exactly what we can expect from this amazing product. Sherveen, what have you guys got coming out for us?
This one's exciting because, as you know, me and my family, we've been hunting mushrooms in the forests of the Pacific Northwest and, Northeast Canada for a long time. And medicinal mushrooms, the background of it being a Taoist immortal practice coming from ancient China. This is something new, and this is the first time it's ever been done before. Nobody has ever made a liposomal mushroom complex ever in the history of supplementation, at least in this epoch. And what we got in this one is we got king trumpet, turkey tail, Antrodia, maitake, and the queen reishi mushrooms all blended together, all grown here in San Diego in an organic grow farm, certified organic. So nothing's coming from China. And it's no offense to China, but there's massive amounts of industrial pollution there, and regulations there are really, really low. So this is safe for everyone, all ages. We use organic cacao extracts, and this is almost like a dessert. It's so delicious. The benefits, we all kind of know mushrooms. It's an adaptogenic herb. It helps your body adapt to the environments. They contain B vitamins, triterpenes, metabolites, vitamin D, prebiotics. They all support a healthy immune system, nervous system. They lower systemic inflammation, and it's delicious. It's like a chocolate fudge dessert, and you can use it in any way you want, any application, straight from the bottle. You can put it on top of foods. You can put it on top of fruits. I mean, this one's going viral right now in so many ways, and I'm really excited for everyone to try it.
Well, head on over to Symbiotica.com, Symbiotika, and get your happy California-raised sunshine mushrooms with some high-end chocolate. And what a great way to start your day and know you're loving your body. On checkout, use your code, capital C, capital H, capital E, capital K, 15. That's Chek 15 for your 15% discount. And while you're there, check out all the amazing products at Symbiotica. You can't go wrong.
Now, from a Dr. Diet perspective, in my system, Dr. Diet represents embodiment. We are what we eat, right? All you got to do is look at the life of Mahatma Gandhi. When he did his hunger strikes, he almost killed himself multiple times, and there was nothing left but a sack of bones. And as soon as we start eating again, we start putting on embodiment, right? So no food, no body. So because Dr. Happiness is the domain of mind and Dr. Movement is the domain of taking the actions that lead to embodiment, when we train to increase strength or muscle mass, we add more body, or we change our body, right? Exercise changes your body. So we have Dr. Diet, which is embodiment, and we have Earth, which is the element. That's what we're embodied in. And then we have the season fall, which means in a day cycle, late afternoon. So Dr. Happiness, mind, air, spring, morning. Dr. Movement, spirit, fire, summer. Midday. Dr. Diet, embodiment, earth, fall. Afternoon, evening, as the sun's going down. So this is where we're really orienting ourselves to awareness of what our body needs to eat, what we got to hydrate with, and that gives us awareness of when we might need to make changes. Do you have information in there? How do you handle sort of the end of the workout, and what do you do between the workouts?
So the diet aspect shows up, I would say, in 2 to 3 different areas in the program. One, creating the awareness at onset when someone comes in to see where they're in balance or out of balance. And then on that training readiness assessment, it gives context. Like, I'm just thinking back to when we were doing coaching and I was still working for my family business, and I was in the middle of a competition cycle and I had to fly to Italy for some work. And my family loves to eat, and you're always going out for business dinners. And I remembered you had shared with me, Mike, you're in a competition cycle. Just be wary and aware that if you eat a ton of gluten, and I'm really sensitive to gluten, then I'm probably going to set me back approximately almost up to 2 weeks, if not more. And that type of setback in a competition training cycle can be disastrous. And so I was competing at that time, but basically through the program and through the daily training readiness assessment, you basically look at, and I give context in terms of, checking in with yourself. Are you experiencing gas, bloating, constipation, water retention? What is water retention? How can you tell? And so it shows up there, but then also too, some of the bonus content. I've got a really very good friend of mine. She's I would say a very holistically focused dietitian, nutritionist. Her name is Danielle Cook Kawash. And so she's provided some of the foundations of nutrition and to support people, in under 10 minutes. I think her videos are like 5 to 10 minutes, much like yours are on sleep and working in. So it gives people a little bit of context. It is, I would say, a kettlebell program, a movement program, but it's got these sprinkles of just gems. And the book, I actually think I think you recommended it to me, and it's been one of the most impactful books I've ever read, and it's Essentialism. And one of the sentences or one of the themes of that book that I've really done my best to incorporate in this program and in my own life is the whole concept of less but better.
Yes.
And
less is more, I tell people.
Less is more. And so focus on the things that you're willing to do regularly, that you can do. And if it's just drinking, if we just drank a little bit more water, the right amount of water and good quality, just that, if that's all someone took, and there's a lecture on water as well, if that's all someone took from this program and did it regularly, I would be a happy man.
Yes. And the other thing, too, is if you want to go more, well, you got my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, which is probably $25 or $35, depending where you buy it. And that gives you a lot of information, as you know. It's the foundation of all my teachings. And then you have Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online, which is like Mike's program. You can do it anytime, and it teaches you everything on how to eat, move, and be healthy and more. And it's co-taught with Angie Chek, my wife, who's a nutritionist, has a degree in energy medicine, a degree in nutrition. She's a Chek professional, and she's done 3 years of advanced training as a shaman. So she's a very well-rounded woman and adds a lot of beauty to the program. So for those of you that might want to do the Kettlebell Lifestyle program but feel like you need a little more support with the nutritional components, then you have my book, How to Eat, Move, and Be Healthy, and Holistic Lifestyle Coach Level 1 online. It's a very cost-affordable, cost-effective program, and you can do it at your own pace, and you could do it simultaneously with your Kettlebell Lifestyle program, because I think the HLC one's a series of short lessons, like 10 or 15 minutes. I think there's 15 or 20, maybe 25 short lessons. I designed it specifically for people that were busy, so it wasn't real stressful to them. So you've got that option, and those are the very principles that I coached Mike with when he worked with me for 2.5 years, and they're now being shared with everybody he coaches. So let's round this out. Dr. Quiet, that relates in my system to insight, looking into yourself, self-reflection, looking at your day. Where did I do things in alignment with my dream, my goal, my objective, and my stated values? Where could I do better? And it relates to water. The element is water, and the season is winter, which is rest. So in the cycle of our day, that begins when the sun goes down. And so what sort of guidance do you have in Kettlebell Lifestyle to help people deal with doctor diet, insight, self-reflection, rest, water, and winter? We already mentioned that you have a water video and that you teach people that. How are you dealing with rest and things like self-reflection and self-awareness?
Yeah, that's really, I think, I would say like it's such a huge part of the program, directly and indirectly, in the sense of like, as a competitive athlete most of my life, I was way over in the excess movement side, way over. I was way in the excess fire side. And so anything that I've done over the years to incorporate more water, more yin, more cooling has given me more potential, ironically, to do more movement and stuff with less energy and effort. And so one of the biggest things that I took away from How to Eat, Move, Be Healthy and working with you was the working in component. So there's working in exercises phase by phase to help people, especially if they are stressed out, and it recommends you, hey, don't train today. Either take a complete rest day, or hey, just focus on your flexibility day, or hey, just do your working in program.
Or your stretching and breathing.
Stretching and breathing. So any one of those components.
Things that are anabolic, which is tissue restorative, energy rebuilding. And for those of you that aren't familiar with the concept of working in, I developed the concept many years ago, but a work-in exercise is a movement coupled with breathing that leaves you with more energy and vitality than it costs to do the movement. So they're techniques that are very similar to Tai Chi, Qigong, and some soft forms of yoga, but very, very simple, that leave you feeling more energized and vitalized as a result, where a workout costs more energy and resources per unit of time than the movements themselves deliver. So you leave with a deficit, which then triggers an anabolic rebound as long as you're eating and living adequately, that you have enough energy to do an anabolic rebound, which is where a lot of people get in trouble because they're training hard in the gym, but their diet's not healthy, they're not sleeping enough, and they're obsessing over all sorts of issues in their head. So they're really just working their body to death from every level. And so a person training hard like that usually ends up with a lot of athletic injuries they don't realize are actually the byproduct of too many negative sources of input overloading the system globally. So, Mike, what do you feel that the consequences of not engaging oneself in this daily form of ritual are? What have you seen with people that start but don't complete and maintain their healthy, conscious daily 4D routine, be they those you've worked with in your programs or people that you know or people in general? In other words, what I'm really saying is we're talking about Kettlebell Lifestyle, which is inclusive, as we've just discussed, of these 4 doctors, which is the foundation routine from which you gain your awareness of happy making, moving, eating well, resting well, being within yourself, connecting to yourself, and being honest with yourself. What do you feel the consequences are, especially in a time like COVID, when people don't have a healthy, balanced routine to anchor their mind, emotions, and body in?
Yeah, I would say more and more right now in my own life, and that's a direct reflection of what the program's a creation of, is adding more rituals to my life.
That's ritual and routine. It's really a ritual. That was the word I was looking for, but I was brain farting. But a ritual is a routine that goes beyond just the task, but it reaches into the domain of one's spirituality, which means connecting to a greater whole.
Absolutely. And so with what you were saying, I was just thinking about the working in component. Like the working in component is a moving meditation.
Yes.
It's how we integrate also the body and the mind, and we can have many aha moments, many introspective moments through that process. And, that in and of itself, for me, it's like, it's almost, sometimes I'll say like a ritual is a routine with intention. And so when you take that approach, or that mindset about approaching rituals, just how me and you enjoy making coffee, or how you make a bag of tobacco, or the food we eat, everything in our life can be a ritual and a moment to check back in and to connect ourselves. So whether people know it or not, as they're going through the program, from the morning routine, the breath work, all of these developmental elements to bring you back in your body, calm your mind, these are all rituals. And so what I'm really excited about is to bring that level of intention to the movement world in a way, hopefully, that people maybe haven't experienced it before, so that they can feel more nourished, much more beyond just a physical level.
That's beautiful. I think this is all so important because, most people don't have any concept of ritual. They kind of just fly habitually by the seat of their pants, wake up late in the morning, tired, burned out, rush to work, try to eat on the fly, usually something that's not worth eating, forget to drink water, tell themselves they don't have time to work out, and then come home burned out, and so they drink a bunch of alcohol and smoke a bunch of pot or whatever and try to create a shift in their environment to something more pleasing than surviving their life, not realizing they've created that life. And one of the things that came to me while you were talking that hopefully you guys were paying attention to, yes, we talked about making espresso. We're both espresso aficionados, but we don't use espresso past the point at which it's no longer favorable. Right? I have a threshold. My threshold is 1 shot of espresso a day, so I make damn sure it's the best one I can get anywhere in the world. Therefore, I do it myself. And yes, I like to vaporize, and so does Mike, tobacco and herbs, but we use a vaporizer so there's no fire. We use organically sourced materials. And so the point I'm driving at is neither Mike nor I is talking about some sort of ascetic lifestyle where you're starving yourself and you can't enjoy the things you like. Because a lot of people think guys like you and I are just like health fanatics and none of this is for me. I don't want to live that way. But that's not true at all. When I used to write your workouts, I would tell you, okay, right after a hard workout, that's your chance to really throw something in the furnace that you want to enjoy, a banana split or big piece of mud pie or grandma's apple pie or whatever works for you, because your metabolic engines are hot and you can pretty much get away with almost anything unless it's something you have an immune reaction to. But so the point I'm making is neither Mike nor I is about living a lifestyle that doesn't have some freedom in it and some joy in it, and that's one of the things I love about Bioptimizer's enzymes, is because if you want to have a gluten treat once in a while or even a gluten-free treat, if you've got Gluten Guardian or you've got Masszymes, you can actually support your body so that the negative reactions to an occasional splurge on something that you may not do well with, but you psychologically feel like you want to give yourself a reward because you are sticking to your healthy ritual, then you just accept and say, okay, I'm going to, like me, I have my popcorn. I go, okay, I'm going to have a day of hangover, but I can minimize it with the enzymes. I can make myself more comfortable, and I just got to remember not to do it more than once a week. Or now I'm really using the popcorn to try to live instead of living to enjoy the popcorn. And so I think that's one of the things I love about your program, is that you've taken these concepts that we worked on and you've made it so people can really develop a healthy lifestyle and really, what you're doing here borders on spiritual development. You understand my point? I mean, really, when you put all this together, it's non-sectarian spiritual development. It's really the religion of loving yourself. It's the awareness of union and how who you are really is the food you eat, the fluids you drink, the air you breathe, and the relationships you maintain with yourself and others, which all boils down to, do I have those 4 doctors in my day? And am I getting these key components that are essential for well-being? You can't be a person in a state of well-being with 3 doctors or 2 doctors or 1 doctor. And when you follow a program like this, the increase in vitality is such that you don't wake up in the morning thinking, okay, how am I going to get through the day today? I got to make sure I have my coffee and my this pill or whatever. You wake up in the morning excited to start your day, excited to grow yourself in your training and your growth through the program, because you got a scheduled program. You can see I'm going from beginners to more advanced. I'm going from 1 set to multiple sets. I'm going from a 12 kg to a 16 kg kettlebell. So there's a lot of ways you can actually objectively see your own progress and reward yourself for it. and learn about all these basic things that, most people take breathing for granted, water for granted, food for granted. They think, these things just exist and there's nothing to them. But through good training like this, you can actually really kind of get into the what I would call an athletic form of true holistic spiritual development. And I think that's missing in the world.
I think that's so important because one of the things that I noticed in through our training philosophy and through what we worked on together, the higher the physical goal in a holistic system and in an integrated approach, everything else also rises along with that.
Yes.
And so I would say more than any other program, part of the intention as well with Kettlebell Lifestyle was for people to actually go through it multiple times in multiple rounds. So as you go through it, you can progress in load, you can progress in level. But more importantly, what I really wanted people to do was progress via taking better care of yourself.
Amen.
And that's the only thing that we can do to show up truly today is focus on how well are we taking care of ourselves, and be a little bit less focused or a lot less focused on what's going on outside until we have our stuff, our temple solid.
See, one of the dangers of athletic training is that without this kind of information attached to it, you might get stronger and you might get bigger, but you may not learn anything about yourself. And when you get bigger and stronger, it means you're putting more force through your kinetic chain, through your structure, through your joints, your connective tissues, your muscles. And so as you get bigger and stronger, you become like a car that has bigger and bigger engine, but you haven't improved the suspension or the brakes. And that means you can go straight in a straight line like a rocket ship, but God bless you when you try to stop it or turn it. And that's pretty much what happens to people's bodies. They might be really good at things like powerlifting, but someone throws them a medicine ball and they have to deal with angular momentum, and boom, they're on the floor in a lot of pain, and they don't know why that 12-pound medicine ball was such a demon for them. So I think really rounding it out and getting not only bigger and stronger, but wiser is critical, because that's what life's all about. So there's a few other components. We've discussed a lot of these other categories. We've talked about working in. You've got all these guided workouts. You've got key isolated and integration exercises with 60 in-depth tutorials on each movement. Can you expand on that a bit?
Yeah, so every single workout, every single follow-along routine, whether it's while I'm coaching the 2 levels or teaching the morning routine, every single workout / routine, every movement in there or every stretch all has between a 3 to a 6 minute video where I actually break down the details of it, how to perform it, what things to look out for. And so you're not just getting a workout that you can follow along. If you truly want to learn more and do the movement better and better and do it as safely as possible, you've got additional support in that.
That's great. And I'm sure that knowing you, because you're very methodical about everything you do, the issues you're addressing are going to be the ones most likely to need addressing.
100%.
So in other words, it's not just 60 at random tutorials. It's the ones that you're most likely to need help with that you probably would have had to go to a skilled therapist to get the answers to anyhow.
Exactly. Like one, just very, let's say the kettlebell clean tutorial. Like that one of the most common things that I've ever seen teaching is the banging of the kettlebell onto the forearm.
Yes.
So it's like, how can we improve our technical ability and our skill development so you really can actually enjoy your training more and not have to be so worried about, oh my God, my forearms are so bruised up because my technique is so poor. So we go over that. And every single movement has its own tutorial to focus on how can we laser focus, solve a lot of the most common challenges, and get the most out of the movement.
So those tutorials minimize visits from the pain teacher is what you're saying.
Yeah, 100%.
That's important. And then you have alluded to this earlier, but we'll reiterate it. You can really do this very cost effectively because you designed the program so it could be done with one kettlebell. So it's not like you have to have a whole gym full of equipment. You don't need 20 kettlebells and barbells and cable machines. You really can go a long way with one kettlebell. And when you're inspired and grandma throws you a bone for Christmas or whatever, and you say, okay, now I can go to 2 kettlebells or multiple kettlebells. But from looking at the program, you've done an excellent job, because one of the most important things is to drill the movement. Research by, I believe it was Digby Sale at McMaster Carr University, showed that when they took people and had them just practice a movement, they would develop they do a strength test. So let's just take the deadlift, for example. So you take people off the street that aren't regular gym goers, and they would do a strength test to see how strong you would be in a given movement, which this I'm just calling the deadlift. And they found that just by actually doing the movement with no load and just reinforcing good technique, guess how much their strength went up in 4 weeks?
In 4 weeks? 20%?
30%.
Wow.
The average
and I
person,
thought I was high.
The average person gained 30% in strength by just practicing the movement.
Wow.
And reinforcing in their mind how to do the movement properly. So the mind starts creating all the neural connections just by the rehearsal. And then lo and behold, when you then take that person back and put a load on them, they're on average 30% stronger in as little as 3 weeks, 3 to 4 weeks.
Wow.
So the point I'm making is you don't even have to have a kettlebell. I mean, yes, you probably should, but I'm simply saying if you think, wow, I'm not fit enough to do kettlebell work or whatever, the truth is all you got to do is do the movements. And I even saw in some of your videos, the person that's on the beginner cycle was doing the movement without the kettlebell.
In the beginning phase, foundational?
Yeah. So you can actually work up and get comfortable before you even buy a kettlebell. You can really go through some of these basic movements and just master it and then say, okay, I got to get some weight on me and start adding up and start where you're at, right?
Absolutely. And my philosophy has always been like, granted, I love kettlebells and Bulgarian bags and all these great training equipments, but I would way, way, way rather in my own lifting and how I suggest with clients, invest in the education and lessen the equipment. I would way rather have someone buy just one bell and put whatever they were going to spend prior to buying instead of 2 full sets of kettlebells or bells, Bulgarian bags, maces, forget that stuff. Just get one and learn how to use it.
Yes. A mechanic is only as good as his tools, but the tool's only as good as his skill. So we all have these realities. Now, we've already talked about there's a series of questionnaires that guide you. So from daily readiness assessment to what your physical abilities are so that a person can discern what lifts they may need to do special stretching and mobilization to prepare for. So there's a lot of coaching involved. Now, when people are in this program, do they have any access to you, or is that something that they buy as an additional thing, or how do you handle that?
So I've got 2 different ways to do that. One, we have for anyone who gets the program, they get access to the Kettlebell Lifestyle community, and we've got over 200 people already in the program from 20 plus countries, and they're all amazing, amazing humans. They're all, I would say, either of the Chek philosophy or very close to it.
Good.
And so they're very much, they understand, you know.
See how selfish I am? Yes, good. Yeah. Chek community, yes.
Well, I mean, those are, you know, I am a Chek practitioner. And
yes,
so,
so thank God.
So much of what I teach and what I share and the people that are attracted to me either resonate in some way, shape, or form with that philosophy oftentimes. And if it's their first exposure to it, I get really excited because I get to kind of bring them into a way in that I always wish I had, you know, from strength and conditioning. And so there's a Facebook community where you can share wins and get feedback. And then I also recently started almost like a mentorship program, which is between 8 to 10 weeks. That's way smaller group, way more focused. And that gives you more one-on-one interaction with me. And then with one of my colleagues and good friends, Dr. Drew Versalino, who's an upper cervical chiro.
Oh, good.
And so he's got extensive knowledge. So he teaches that with me. And that's the mentorship side, or the master's program, I call it. But with just Kettlebell Lifestyle, you get the community, which is so important today. When we think about Zen in the Garden, man, it was like the feedback that I just shared with you earlier in the podcast. And people, we miss connection. We miss community. And so as best as I could via the online medium, Kettlebell Lifestyle has that. And it really is a special community.
Yeah, no, you know, like attracts like. Right? So one of the things that is hard for people is to change their behaviors and begin a healthy, holistic lifestyle because they feel all alone and they feel isolated. And often people say, oh, why are you doing that? How come you quit eating this or drinking beer? And everyone tries to bring, you know, misery loves company. So, you know, once you start going on the path to health, remember the average person's very sick in our culture. So the day that you make 2 or 3 steps toward health and fitness, you're already kind of on your own. And misery loves to bring you back down so you can have a nice swollen gut and a sore body and a foggy head and be like the average person. But as Carl Jung says, the average man can never be successful because by definition, average and success are not the same. So when we have a community of people that are, committed to achieving their optimum health and performance and being fit and making positive changes in the world by making positive changes in you. Whenever we make a change in ourselves, we've already changed the world. And that's really the only part of the world that we can take full responsibility for. But as I tell people all the time in my classes, the greatest teacher is the silent teacher and the greatest lover is the silent lover. So every day you can contribute to your own life by being in a program like this. You're actually radiating more health and vitality. The magnetism of your own heart becomes stronger. So everywhere you go, people see the brightness of your eyes, your good posture, that you smile more, that you've just got more vitality, and they gravitate to you and they watch, what's he buying? So they're watching, Mike or people like me in the supermarket going, oh, wow, that guy eats asparagus and salmon. I haven't eaten any of those. And so without saying a thing, we're teaching. And because we love ourselves and love our lives, then all that love is in us. It's radiating out to everybody. So in a time right now when we really do need to make some big changes on a social level and on a cultural level and a world level, we need mentors in the world. And this is really a mentorship to social change, because in order to change something bigger than you got to start with you, right? How can you change the world if you can't change yourself? How can you change your family if you can't change yourself? And the reality of it is you don't need to change your family. You just need to give them reason to see that what you're doing actually works. Instead of telling them what they're doing is wrong because you learned something, it's better to show them that it really works and show them that your body's working better, looking better, and feeling better. And then naturally they're going to want to drink from that well and say, okay, you've convinced me. How do I do it? And then you get a new member. And that works better for everybody. So what is the cost of the program so that people listening can have a sense of what the investment is? And it is an investment. It's not a cost. It's an investment. And there's nothing more valuable to invest in than yourself. I've invested all my money in myself, and all my money goes into the Chek Institute. Everything that I've made that went beyond what I eat and drink and pay for cars and mortgage payments has always gone into investing into the education system that I developed, because I felt that was the best investment I could make for the world, because when I leave, the system will still be here. So if it comes to developing an entirely new lifestyle that gives you a non-sectarian, holistic approach to spirituality that really lets you know that you're making changes in the world and for yourself, what does a person have the opportunity to invest?
So the program is $497, but to be honest, just because, our relationship, how grateful I am of your teachings, how I love supporting the Chek Institute, and anyone listening to this podcast, we are working out a special discount for you guys. And so anybody listening, you guys are going to get a special hooked up rate.
I think it's, what would you agree? We agreed 20%.
20%, right? Yep.
20% off. So you're $497 less 20%.
So $500, you're looking at just under, $400.
That's amazing. And what's the shelf life on the program? Is once you buy into it, is there a certain number of months that you have to use it?
Originally I was going to do a 1 year. It would be for 1 year of membership. But I said, you know what? For the times they are right now, I just want people to get it, to use it. It's designed to be gone through multiple times. So when you get it, you've got it for life.
So if you're a Living 4D podcast listener, which you are if you're hearing me right now, you get a lifetime membership to a program that will not only change your life, but change the world for $400. That's pretty damn crazy, really. I think we should double the price, but we won't do that now.
Maybe later.
Let's double the numbers.
There we go.
Let's double the number of people. Let's more than double it. Let's
100,000.
Let's bring it up to
balanced athletes.
Let's just go crazy and get wild. And and by the way, all this teaches you about the importance of buying foods that come from healthy places. So joining the Kettlebell program that Mike's offering here, Kettlebell Lifestyle, it is a lifestyle. And therefore you're learning to spend your money on the farmers and the suppliers that are sustainable. So in fact, not only are you enhancing your own life, but you're enhancing the planet, because your money's going into the hands of the people that are really taking care of the planet, because you can't produce healthy food unless you're doing it in line with the principles of organic and biodynamic farming, which means you're making the soil better with every purchase, because those farmers use that money to pay for fertilizers and minerals and things to keep the soils healthy, which makes the world a healthier place for all of us. And the more money we put in the hands of those farmers, the less chemicals we're spraying on the ground to take shortcuts and eat cheap food and torture animals. So there's a lot going on there. I think that's absolutely phenomenal. I hope you guys are as excited as I got when I saw the program. I was really excited when Mike produced Mastering the Kettlebell, because I'd never seen any program ever so complete and so beautifully filmed. And by the way, you'd think this is a Hollywood production. I mean, him and Eli put together just the most beautiful, easy to see, easy to follow. It really feels, especially with modern screens on computers like Apple's, it's almost like you're right there with you. It doesn't have that sense of video disconnection that you get often when you're looking at a device. It really is so beautifully shot. It really feels like Mike's standing right there with you, and that's quite beautiful. So what a lovely discussion, and thank you so much for developing the Kettlebell Lifestyle program. And what a great adventure to tour through it. And I'm grateful that you've put your own life experience and training with what holism really is into play, so that athletes can develop strength, power, and become more whole and more wise, and really have a chance to not only love themselves better, but show the world what it looks like to be fit and healthy, physically, emotionally, and mentally. And I think one of the things about this is, we're going through a real shift right now in the world, where we're reevaluating the myths that we live by. The myth of consumerism and the myth of scientific materialism is dying. And we're now facing the emergence of some new myths, which whenever a new myth emerges, there's always chaos. And so we have, the corporatocracy trying to impose itself upon us, but a lot of us are resisting that myth. So, and those people that are behind that corporatocracy myth, the Bill Gateses and those people are also trying to get rid of organic farming. They're trying to own all the seeds. They're trying to go to GMO. They're trying to make this so profitable for themselves by making sure everyone stays unhealthy and has to depend upon them. So really, I tell people that the myth we've got to bring back in is the myth that says we are the planet, and that we are each other, and that we can't be anything more for anybody else than we are for ourselves, and that we have the resources on the planet to feed everybody if we just share, and we have the technology to heal the planet. And here's an example of how we can use the same technology that's being used to scare the hell out of people, a computer and software, to completely change your life for the better. And I've always taught my students the same technology that can kill you can be used to not only save your life, but save the world. And this program is an example of how we can use the exact level of technology that's causing people so much fear and so much false belief in creating dragons, to actually get rid of dragons and make you more capable of discernment, give you the rest you need to calm your mind, center yourself, and be able to make the big decisions that we all have to make in our own lives and collectively, so that we can usher in a myth that is really more in line with world healing instead of just making rich people richer. So thank you very, very much, Mike. Any last closing comments?
Man, just hearing you, I'm almost getting choked up.
The truth is a lot, isn't it?
Well, it means just a lot, to hear you share that. And that's 100% what the program's about. Each person doing their part to be better themselves, connect with themselves, and to be better for their friends and for them family. And it means a lot to hear that and to have your support. And I'm really excited for more people to get a hold of it. And
yeah, me too.
Yeah,
I'm very excited. And what I have to say to you, Bill Gates, is we found a way to do something beautiful with the technology that you're confused about. So we'll thank you for Microsoft, and we'll thank you for inspiring us to learn how to take care of our own health and well-being, so we don't need anyone poking us with shit and telling us what to do with our bodies and how to live and who we can see and not see. I think that, this is just one example of what holism really is. And I think it doesn't take a genius to see that we all need to circle the globe holding hands, right? When we were in Zen in the garden, everybody was holding hands, chanting Om. It completely changes people, doesn't it? Like when you're singing together and you're creating together and you're breathing together and you're using your imagination together, and you realize how powerful we are as human beings, but how much of a beautiful expression of the planet we are, it brings the best out of you and it brings life through you. And when you're truly living, you're adding life to life, right? And that's what we need to do right now. We need to add life to life. But unfortunately, a lot of the stuff that's going on in the world right now is sucking the life right out of people, isolating them, leaving them scared, confused, detached from people that they love. And I say, hey, let's exercise together, eat together, drink together, and let's use the very forums that are being used to brainwash us into being unhealthy, controllable little robots to be healthy, vital people that we can connect with through Facebook or various social groups and inspire them to usher in the new myth. And the new myth, the mystic in me says the new myth is holism. Without holism, we have nothing but disintegration. And this whole Mastering Your Kettlebell program is all about integration, 4-doctor living, ritual, harmony, love, sharing, self-respect, and achieving the best from you. Because when you achieve the best from you, everyone sees it, hears about it, knows about it. I say let's trigger an avalanche of healing and self-awareness. And right now you can start with Kettlebell Lifestyle. So I love you, buddy. Thank you for another genius creation that only Mike Salemi could do. And your buddy Eli, the genius with the camera. And all the other great contributors as well. Why don't you just take quick 2 seconds here and run off who are some of the other contributors?
So we've got Mark England, who's a TEDx speaker. He speaks on goal setting. We've got you. We've got Danielle Cook-Kawash talking about nutrition. We've got Jator Pierre talking about moving beyond self-sabotage. Warren William talks about meditation made easy.
Brother Warren.
Brother Warren.
I love Warren.
We've got him. We've got Stephanie Obergozo did hydration, as well as another lecture I don't recall. We've got my buddy Brooks Meadows, who had a whole gym called Recess that talks about the importance of play. So getting people to play more. And I think we've got one more. My buddy Chris Chamberlain, who's the program director of WEC Method.
Yes.
So we talk about ways to incorporate how to make people better at locomotion with kettlebells as well, and learning what we call rolling ropes and spinal mechanics. So it's been, I really wanted to expose people and connect people with some of the people who I really just love, appreciate, and who have shared such amazing wisdom with me. So yes, it's a program I created, but it also has a big influence and impact on people like yourself who have just been so supportive. And I want, your information to get out. I want Warren's information to tours. I know what these guys, I know their core values, and everyone in the program who's contributed is in direct alignment with my core values.
And some of those are students and instructors of the Chek Institute.
Yeah.
And let me tell you, guys, there's some girls in there that are worth looking at while you're training. And girls, there's some healthy, handsome dudes in there too. So, if you want some eye candy to inspire you for the day, Mike pulled that one out for you too. So lots of love. Hey, thank you all. Thank you to my sponsors of Living 4D. They're all totally in line with everything we're talking about here. And every time you buy something from the sponsors on this podcast, you are doing two things. You are supporting sustainable practices to make this planet healthier, and a little piece of that goes to the podcast to support me to have the time to do the research and the recording and pay the podcast team to put together a beautiful podcast for you. So thank you for buying from the sponsors. And if you love this podcast, please share it widely. If you absolutely hate it and didn't like it, let's keep it a secret. Lots of love.
Thank you,
Aho, great spirit.
Aho. Thank you so much.
It is done. It is done. That's how we do our ceremonial prayers. So we love you all. We're proud of you. Thank you for listening. And you've just got to hear from one of the most amazing athletes I've ever worked with. And he came to me in a lot of pain, and he's put this program together to make sure you don't have to go through 2.5 years of rehabilitation and re-education and relearning, so that you can do it right off the beginning, right from the start. And if you're a parent, this program is really important for your kids. What do you think this is for kids? What's the starting age on this?
I would say, depending on if they do the beginner level and keep the weight super light or no weight, I would say loading around like 13 is usually a good
12,
age.
13,
Yeah, I would say that general plus or minus is good.
Yeah.
And parents can do it with their kids if they like to, if they want to train with them at home. I've got people doing the morning routines with their whole family and sending me videos and pictures. And it's choose whatever aspect you like, go to the park, do the work-ins with your kids, teach them it, have the video out, memorize it, and then take it anywhere you want.
My little Zoe, she's 1.5. We got a little yellow kettlebell that used to be Mana's kettlebell, and you fill it up with water. And she swings that thing around. She's doing some very advanced moves. I should probably film some for you, because I don't know if you're ready for them yet.
Oh, shoot.
But, she does one move. I think we'll call it the back toss. Right? She just throws that kettlebell as far as she can. And her and Mana are great at playing in the gym, and I set up all sorts of little obstacle courses for them. But they both love to lift rocks, and it's been fun to watch, because Mana's 4.5 now, and he can lift some big rocks. But Zoe at 1.5 can lift rocks that freak me out. She's so strong. Wow. It's unbelievable what that little tiny girl can do. So the point I'm making is, if you're a parent, a program like this can really inspire the whole family and give them a good basic education. And remember, those that play together stay together. So if you start your day with Kettlebell Lifestyle, then you can stay that way, and everybody is happy forever. And that's one of the most important things for any of you in a relationship. If you're having challenges in your relationship, ask yourself, when's the last time we played together? And remember, Paul Chek says, those that play together stay together. Aho.
Aho.
Again. Lots of love, everyone. Enjoy Kettlebell Lifestyle with the master, Mike Salemi. Bye-bye.
Thank you for listening to Living 4D with Paul Chek and today's guest, Mike Salemi. A reminder to go to chekinstitute.com/survey to take our survey and be entered into the drawing to win a bundle of our sponsor products and to help support the podcast. The survey ends on the 10th of January, so be sure to submit it before the deadline to be part of the drawing. Go to chekinstitute.com/survey. You can follow Mike on Instagram at mike.salemi or on his website at mikesalemi.io. That's MikeSalemi.io. Take advantage of 20% off Mike's new course, Kettlebell Lifestyle, plus lifetime access for Paul's listeners by going to kettlebelllifestyle.com/L4D. That's kettlebelllifestyle.com/L4D. No promotion code is needed to get your discount. Follow Paul on Instagram and Twitter at Living4D Podcast or on his YouTube podcast channel, youtube.com/Living4D with Paul Chek. You can watch more on Paul's blog at paulcheksblog.com and the Chek Institute streaming media site, Chikiva.com.